Hello, Tom Levecchia here with a very special investigative edition of the Armchair MBA. Before we start, let me introduce my guest, Jason, JSV Capital, sponsor of the show and friend of the show. He's going to be here as our subject matter expert. Jason, welcome to the Armchair MBA. How you doing today?
Tom, how are you, buddy?
I am well, and a longtime friend of the show, Carlos Muniz, is going to come in, share some information with us today. Carlos, how you doing today, buddy?
Jason, how you got gentlemen doing?
We're doing well. Okay,
Good,
so
Carlos.
we're gonna. It's a different kind of show than I normally have, and we're doing something a little investigative. Something was brought to my attention that again, this is all alleged. I'm going to give the facts. Oh, we have a little echo. I think. Do I hear any echo from me? It should be better now. Okay,
You're good.
So to be upfront, we received information, credible information, that a podcaster allegedly kind of swindled, finessed, however you want to call it, $5,000 out of a viewer. And the viewer, frankly, I don't have a dog in this fight, was not a big fan of the show. I don't know him well, but it was brought to my attention, and I felt compelled to do a story on this. And, of course, we have some backup information. Before we jump in, Carlos, Jay, why don't you set up what type of personal loans are available? Now, this guy who gave the guy the loan has a professional loan company, but Jason, how do personal loans work?
As far as personal loans, obviously you're going to have a job in order to pay that back. But, we work with people who have poor credit scores, get a personal loan, and depending on their income. I mean, we don't do payday loans, but there are payday loans out there. It's high interest. You got to pay them back in a few months. But those are for people who don't have good credit scores. And as far as getting a decent personal loan, if you have a good credit score, yeah, it's easy to find. 10,000, 20,000 lines of credit, personal lines of credit.
And before we get to Carlos, Jason, you and I are friends. We have cigars. Our children play together. If you needed $5,000, I'd give it to you. If I needed $5,000, I know you'd give it to me. How do those loans work? Is it a handshake? Is it an email?
Those are tough. Not between you and I, between friends. I always took it. If you are a friend, family, there's a threshold. That, hey, listen, I'm gonna give you this loan. I'm not gonna expect any money back. I'm not gonna. When you have it, you give it back. I'm not one of those guys to give to a friend or a family to get anything of that sort. I'm not into that. Okay. But if it's somebody do I know through the street or so forth, yeah. I mean, there's going to be more than just a handshake than, that I would do if I want that money back, something in writing, not just.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Carlos, I have some documentation here. We'll get to it in a second. Carlos Muniz, please set this up for us.
So the person we're talking about happens to be Primo, who's been a long-time subscriber to a lot of the channels on YouTube. Yeah. And we build a rapport like you mostly do with most subscribers. Yeah. And he's always came across as a genuine man, a vet. He served this country, and we've had a rapport. Well, he got in contact with me about a little over a month ago, maybe close to 2. And he was asking my advice on a situation. And he brought to my attention that he made a loan to a content creator. Okay. And the content creator has not been receiving his calls, has just been ducking him, and is making it seem like it was a loan, which it wasn't. And so he told me who the content creator was and what exactly happened. Went into details about it and said, I've gone to his friends, family, and other content creators who helped support this particular content creator when he started. Yeah. And he said, so far, everybody has turned their back. Nobody wants any part of it,
All right. So I don't want to go too far ahead because I want to appreciate each step in the process. So first kind of piece to share is I understand this is an interaction between Dom, who is Dom on the Stoop show, and Primo. I'm just going to keep this up and people can read it. but why don't you give a little background of this conversation and what was going on initially?
He's basically in this conversation, he's asking him why is he not answering his calls? Why is he pretty much ducking him? That he did what he did in what he considers good faith,
Yeah.
and that to please get back with him and let him know how they can resolve the situation.
Okay. And then next up is he made a request for the money, which is interesting because usually if there's a request, there's a conversation. You don't just request, hey, give me $5,000. You say, I'll give you $5,000. There's some, context, some structure, something along those lines. I don't know Primo, and I believe I spoke to him once, and I don't want to beat the guy up, but that was kind of silly to send it without paperwork. You know what I mean? Like, where do you land on that, Carlos?
I agree with you 100%. Being that he's owns a company, he knows this. But I guess from what I got from him, and I can take pretty much guess, other content creators vouched for this guy. They promoted his show and such, and he had a respect for the other content creators. He actually had conversations with them. So he did what many consider a leap of faith and decided, you know what, the guys that are friends with him to help promote his channel, they'll probably, it's okay if they can vouch for him, and say he's a good guy, and the guy, actual Dom's cousin is kind of a famous individual.
Yeah, we'll get there because unfortunately we'll just mention his name once.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll back it up that I haven't reached out to him. Part of when you investigate, you do want to reach out to the subject matter experts,
exactly,
the people involved, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so he sends him the money, and the next is kind of the emails, kind of going back and forth. And let me.
Hey Tom, I just want to touch base on one thing. Going back to the paperwork before we go further.
Yeah.
Just an easy thing to get around if you never signed paperwork with somebody.
Yeah.
Send that person an email if you have their email and tell them that they owe you X amount over than what they owe you. Most of the time, that person is going to reply and say, I don't owe you 10,000. I only owe you 5. Right then and there is proof that that person owes you. And you can take that proof if you go legally to the court, to a lawyer, and so forth. So if you never sign something, there's a way around it by saying to the person, you got to do what you got to do. And that's a way around it, guys.
Interesting. So let me read a little bit, and then I want Carlos to left you to back this up. So Dom, Primo sent to Dom, hey, he sent over a cancellation request because I guess they use PayPal. And then, you say, hey, give me the money back. But then again, Dom went and canceled it, which is basically saying, I'm not giving you the money back. So he saw the cancellation, Primo's pretty open saying, hey, it's a lot of money to lose. Last year, Jason knows I took a 10K ding. It hurts. It wasn't like this, but it's something else. It happens, right? But it still hurts. Then to go forward, he's like, listen, he's like, yeah, I'm not good here, right? And he says, you're ignoring my questions, my emails. And he's like, I don't want to say a bad word. I don't want to try to do dirty by you. But like, I need like a social security. I need your full name. I need all this stuff. So, because I got to get something to documents, because the IRS don't fuck around, right? Because I could 1099 him now. And if I 1099 him and I just say, hey, listen, I gave him the money and prove it, he's on the hook with the taxes and he can get really jammed up with the IRS. Jason, am I right on that? Let's say if Primo wants it, he could 1099 him, right?
Yeah.
And then you're on the hook for the taxes. I don't get too involved with the legal end of it. I want to talk more about the investigative part and frankly the moral part, if you will. Okay, so Carlos, walk us through now. So Primo's emailing him, trying to reach out. He's not threatening. It doesn't seem anything, incendiary. It just seems like, hey man, it's a lot of money for me. Let's try to work this out and let's do this the right way. So why don't you take us from there, Carlos?
So after that, he tried calling, and it was the changed number or it was disconnected.
Yeah, he says it here. He alleges that he was doxxed and he changed his number. He does supply the new number on the email, but again, I don't know.
And I guess that wasn't the actual number. From my understanding, he got it from another party, another content creator. who gave him the number.
Got it.
And
Okay. Got it.
he got in contact with the other two content creators and asked them if they could help with the situation.
Okay, really quick, 'cause I have an email for that. And just so everybody knows, we're doing this as a live. You're welcome to comment below. I did reach out for Dom for comment. Got no response. I would never do something like this and not get a comment or not get an opinion. He's welcome to come back on another time to try to defend himself. This is not a one-way street, but the truth of the matter is it's pretty clear to me so far that Primo in turn said, hey, you know what? Here's some money, but it's expected to be a loan. All right. Now, so you reach out to the content creator. Let's talk about, so one was Chris, FBS. I'm not saying anything negative about him, just going through what I've been told. So what did Chris do first? And when you guys reached out to him?
He said he reached out to Chris after he had first reached out to another content creator, which was
so who's the first one?
Gunsmoke.
Okay, so reach out to Gunsmoke. Yeah, and really quick, the little that I know is I at one point tried to give Gunsmoke a chance. And when I remember seeing that guy's name, because it stands out, it's a very Italian name. And I understand, as good of a relationship you could have, Primo and Gunsmoke had a pretty good rapport prior to all this going down, right?
Yeah, we all had a pretty much rapport, like a good rapport. I've been on cousin Dom's show plenty of times,
Got it.
and it was the point where I got the story and I put my own two put together and I believed Primo. That was my thing. I felt that, and nothing against Dom, but at the end of the day, right is right and wrong is wrong.
And that's what we're trying to get to today. So we established somewhat, again, it's still YouTube, but you do have a rapport. I consider, I know you from YouTube. I know you were wrenching my thing. You'll be a wrench again. You're a friend. If you ever need something, that's why I'm doing this, because you guys reach out respectfully. We want to get to the bottom of it, right? So at the first point of action, Primo reached out to Gunsmoke, and what happened?
Gunsmoke said he would look into it.
Okay.
And this is from what Primo tells me. And supposedly Gunsmoke reached out to Chris, FBS, and they had a conversation and basically was told, I don't feel that we should get involved in this. This is basically between them.
Okay.
He also reached out to Gunsmoke to Paul Perry, and it was the same response. Everybody wanted to leave it alone. They wanted no part of it.
Paul's his cousin, as I understand, correct?
His cousin, yes.
Got it. Okay. Well, listen, again, this isn't an indictment on Paul or anybody else. It's just they gave a decision to say, hey, I don't want to get involved. But then things got a little tricky. Didn't something else happen that kind of raised the brow?
Yeah, from what Primo tells me, within the conversation, he was told that they did not want to get involved because they had to protect their brand.
Oh. So it wasn't just, hey, I don't want to help you, but I don't want to help you because we might look bad.
Exactly.
Okay. Just for those logging in, and we're gonna if you missed it, we're gonna keep this up as a regular show. A content creator by the name of Primo. I met him once. Nelson and Carlos and Lou vouch for him. Seems like a nice guy to me.
Great guy.
Allegedly loaned, again, all innocent to proven guilty, but allegedly loaned $5K to cousin Dom on the stoop. I understand he was kind of a protege of FBS and Gunsmoke. And what I mean by protege, I think they were kind of helping each other out and collaborated. I don't know the nature of the relationship. I don't know the depth of their relationship. I'm just bringing that along as some context because Carlos did go to them and ask for some help. And then their answer was, you said, okay, hey, I'm worried about my brand. Okay. Or our brand. Okay. What happened after that?
After that, basically he decided, Primo got sick behind all of this.
Yeah. That also happened. I saw it in the email that he was in a hospital, right?
Yeah. He actually wound up in the hospital behind it. And it's crazy because I didn't know when all of this was transpiring. I was still friends with cousin Dom. We were still talking. We were still communicating.
Oh, wow.
We actually had a show where we did a live. Me and my brother Big Lou were on it. And Big Lou says on the show, prayers to Primo. So everybody in the chat says, prayers to Primo, salute to Primo. And Dom goes, yeah, prayers to Primo. Little did we know, Primo was in the green room.
Oh, like here, like he would be
exactly, and he wouldn't bring him on.
Okay.
He wouldn't put him on. So I guess Primo decided to come to me because he said, if anybody's going to speak out on certain things, it'll be you. So he says, here's my situation. He goes, he pretty much knew that he messed up. Being a businessman, he knew that what he did was wrong. But see, what happened prior to that, they were planning on doing a docuseries, kind of like on Primo's life. Cousin Dom was going to do it with Primo. They were going to talk about Chicago, his military experience, his dabbling in the outlaw, being around outlaw motorcycle gangs and so forth, and also his businesses. They were going to kind of make like a docuseries.
Now was it $5,000 a down payment or a fee for services?
That came later. It planned on them doing that and going from there. So Primo felt comfortable enough. He came to Primo with, I have issues with this. I'm going through finances as far as work and such a forth and stuff. So Primo basically told him, I own a loan company. We do such and such. He was like, but we can probably work something where I'll do it more or less like a family loan, where I'm not going to kill you on interest rates and stuff like that. And he made the mistake of the handshake, the famous handshake and it bit him in the butt.
And then I'm just going by what you said. There was also some weird stuff that Dom actually allegedly sent some money to one of the other content providers, correct?
Yeah, he was at the time period when he explained this to Primo that he was going through financial hardships. Not soon after he received that money, he helped another content creator who was going through some financial hardship, and that right there is like one person doesn't have money. All of a sudden he has money. Now he's helping the next person. It was kind of odd that it happened that way. But
Wow. Now the other thing so like listen, I'm a content creator, right? And you come to me, what can I do? I reach out to him for a comment, reach out to him so he could weigh in, maybe remediate this in some way. Blew me off, that's his prerogative, right? I want Jason to weigh in a second, but I can give some light on the situation and can share it. What did FBS and Gunsmoke do publicly? Did they denounce him, or did they stick up for Primo, or what was done publicly as far as you know?
They actually didn't talk on this for a while.
Okay.
It wasn't until about maybe 3 weeks ago that FBS decided to talk about the situation. Primo wasn't talking to anybody about this, and Dom had disappeared. He said he had COVID. He said he got doxxed. He said that he had people threatening his wife, his kids, and so he had to get away from all of this, And FBS did a video saying, we had no part of this, we were not involved, and so forth, and did a whole video on them not knowing that, what was going on. That from their understanding, it was a gift.
Okay, so with that being said, though, it looks like, and I'm sharing this with everybody, it looks like the last video was a month ago. So I guess in his mind, 5,000 was enough to take off and run down his show, shut down his show.
It clearly wasn't, and I don't know any of these people here, and it clearly wasn't a gift. If it was a gift, the guy would have said, Tom, if you gave me a gift and I'm part of this world of content creation, I would have said, Tom, I would have been on here and been like, Tom, are you telling me you came to my house, you shook my hand, you had dinner with my wife and me, you gave me a gift, you said it was a gift. I'd be screaming from the hills saying that it was a gift, not running. I'd be emphatic on my show. I wouldn't stop my show. I'd be on my show and have you on my show if it was a gift. And then if it was a gift, you're only as good as your word, right? I would say, you know what? You gave me your word it was a gift, but you know what? I'll pay you back. I don't have the $5,000 now. I'll give you $1,000 a month. I'll give you $500 a month. I'll pay you the money back because I'll be a man of my word. Even though you said it was a gift and you went against your word, I'll pay you the money back. So no matter what, and I don't know this Dom guy, one or the other, right?
Well, the other part is real quick. The other part is to avoid, because otherwise I would give Rob Lito $5,000, you $5,000. I have to lower my taxes and stuff, right? So, like, if I give you the $5,000, there's got to be some record of that. He's within his rights to 1099 his ass, and then Dom's on the hook for it. Now, Dom, if he sends that with his taxes on April 15th to the government, they're going to need that. Well, it's probably 2022 taxes because it was January 15th, but nevertheless, he'll have to pay probably about $2,000 in taxes on it. So, my opinion, I would call you up and try to work it out,
I remember when I was running for the guys way back when in my early 20s, I was running collecting for, the Shylocks on the street, collecting for the bookies. Yeah. And, the worst, and I learned this at a very young age, besides my uncles and father telling me this stuff, but you always, the worst thing you could do is not pick up the phone. The worst thing you do is not show up to that meeting or to that sit down or to whatever. It's the worst thing you do. You don't have it. You show up, you pick up the phone, you answer the text, you answer the email, and you tell them honestly, I don't have it, but let's work something out. To just not answer somebody, to just run from it, that's not a good move.
Yeah, I want to address something. So the reason why we brought up FBS, the reason why I brought up Gunsmoke is very clear and easy. They're part of the story in terms of Primo's version and Carlos's version. They're more than welcome to share their opinion. This is not an indictment on them. Jane Creek, let's put Jane Creek's comment up there. I don't know what common sense to do it for this, but FBS and Gunsmoke did not vouch for Dom before the loan and get the money out of it. Also, Tony Pizza's gotten at least $5,000 for one person. How are they at fault? So there's an argument, Carlos, that, you know what, like if respectfully, if I reached out to them and they vouched for him and then gave them money and then it turned out to be a deadbeat, you can argue that they're kind of on the hook morally or, at least have a little shade thrown at them. What are your thoughts to that, Carlos?
Here's my thing.
Please.
Dom came on as a guest on these content creators' channels. He then went and created his own show. They all promoted each other. They did. Yeah. Subscribe here, subscribe there, like the normal do. So
the guy did with Joe and Vinny. And
exactly.
Jason.
And Dom, yeah, exactly. And Dom backed them constantly. It was at a time where that was when there was still beef going across the board, right?
Yeah.
And so Dom used to make it evidently clear in his videos who he's with. These are my friends. I will back them, and that went across the board. Nobody is saying anything about vouching as far as a loan, because that didn't happen. But when you sit there and you promote somebody like you guys did, promote each other's channel, you basically are vouching for somebody.
Yeah.
You are. So this is what made Primo feel comfortable enough to do that. Because he said, these guys are all good guys. They're all together, so here, let me do this. And he knew he was wrong with it, but he took a leap of faith. Now, getting back to this, as far as the narrative goes with a lot of people, we've been around here, around the channels and the content creator channels to see super chats. Yeah. And we've seen super chats. I've seen some as high as $500.
Correct.
And that is bragged about across the board. Like, look at that. We got such and such chat. All the other content creators have done it when they seen another content creator get it. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to get a $5,000 gift and it's not going to be promoted everywhere and talked about everywhere. He would have made videos about countless videos on it. And the fact that he disappeared after all of this, and mind you, when somebody accuses you, you scream to high heaven if you're an innocent person. He popped up his head not long ago on Lefty Gun Show, and we had a conversation, and we act like everything was fine. I knew what had transpired behind the scenes, but I still had the conversation with him and act like we didn't know what was going on. In my opinion, it was damage control to see where everything was at. And he himself in that video said, "I've been watching all the drama and all the nonsense that's been going on. I've just been in the background." After this comes out, nobody, no screaming, no going on everybody's channel saying, I'm falsely accused of robbing somebody. No outrage. Even to this day, he hasn't popped up. There's no outrage. There's none. I know you accuse me of something like that. I'm gonna go speak up. I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna let it be known, and it's gonna go everywhere.
So, how's Primo doing? I haven't spoken to him. How's he holding up?
I spoke to Primo today. He's spending time with his grandkids. He didn't want to come on because he doesn't. This actually gets him physically sick, and he doesn't. And he said he also has his reasons why he's staying back. I'm basically speaking from the conversations that I had with him, from those same emails. I was able to put together and come up with my own conclusion. This is why I wanted to have this. So let people also decide. Just use basic common sense and think about that. At the end of the day, nobody here has gotten a $5,000 loan across the board in this genre. You rarely see it.
And if you got it, like you would, like, I don't know. I'm sorry, but if I got to fight that, well, first of all, if I got a $5,000 super, well, you can get a $5,000 super chat, but if I got a $5,000 Cash App or PayPal, like on the arm, I don't know. I would. I'm going to drop the link. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I I'd put like half of it and put a billboard out. Like Armchair NBA gets $5,000. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I do a lot more. Joey Baith may come on. Okay. So, but here's the thing, and this is one of the things that how can I say? One of the things that is disappointing for me now, generally, there's these communities, right? And these genres. And generally people may not get along, right? But I always say tough times don't build character, it reveals it, right? So, like, has there been anything in terms of the you brought up my kid Slug, you are removed. Sorry, man. I don't care if it's small. They don't bring up my kid. So with that being said, though, has a community as a whole, like, other than like me and Jason, who are nobodies, has anybody kind of say maybe do a fundraiser to help them out, or maybe we can help out in a way? Has there been any kind of community support in any way?
No, other than a few people knowing, and me and my brothers actually having conversations about that, getting with you, because we decided to go with an outside party as far as bringing this up, because all parties involved. And I want to make this clear. At no time did I think FPS or Gunsmoke had anything to do with this. As far as knowing exactly what he was going to do. But my thing was real simple. It wasn't spoken upon. From their understanding, they believed it to be a loan. And my thing is, like, you guys been here long enough to understand it doesn't really work that way. You're just not just going to get a gift. And it's not going to happen. That's not happening across the board. I would. Nobody just gives somebody $5,000. That right there in itself is a red flag. And Primo took a lot of heat, especially in the chat, because the community has spoken on it, and a lot of the response was kind of hard on Primo, and it bothered them because they were like, he was basically stupid enough to make the deal. They didn't buy it because they were basically saying nobody's that dumb to just, and you took a leap of faith, and it bit him. And
right, hold on 1 second. I'm going to have Joe come in. You're okay with that, Carlos, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, we had the four horsemen. We kicked out Vinny, and we got Carlos Moon. It's Joe Baith. Welcome to the Armchair NBA. How you doing today, man?
It's an upgrade. Trust me.
Well,
what's up,
What's up, Joe?
All right. So, Joe, have you been watching, or are you just chiming in?
No, I've been watching a little bit, and I heard a little bit of FBS today. And so, unfortunate situation, really.
Well,
but,
so, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, and not that there's like sides and stuff, but like I didn't really know Primo before. And again, I had the pleasure of meeting him briefly to kind of get downloaded on this. Was he ever in your show, or have you heard any?
I know who he is. He sent me messages. He's watched the show, and he seems like a good guy or whatever. Unfortunate situation. you know, yeah, I mean, it's happened. It's happened to all of us. So, but just I guess on a much higher level. You know, I don't know what the deal was with that. You know, but it seems like he did something in good faith, and unfortunately, you know, you're not dealing with the quote unquote, as everyone says, stand up people.
Jason, so like what, and we're not giving legal advice to Primo or anybody that he's related to, but what can he do? Like what would you have done if you loaded to Joe or me in good faith, but we were a little bit of little gray?
At this age, I nothing. I write it to me personally, it's a loss. I
Yo,
gave it up. I
you
had
gonna
faith
come
in
back out?
somebody, and I cut it as a loss. Younger years, I would definitely come after the person illegally because I didn't care if I went to jail when I was younger. Thank God I never did. And if if it was more than that legally, yeah, I would try to trick them to admitting that I did give them the 5,000, and I would legally go after them. And I would have my lawyer. I put a lien on something, and they get a tax return. Money goes to me. They get money from anywhere, any government or any kind of source, any kind of income besides their W. Even you could even their W-2. You can have X amount held from their paycheck every week. You can legally go to the court. The court will say, okay, we're going to hold $100 a week until this 5,000 is paid back. Would I
What
go
would
that
that
far?
cost?
What's that?
What would it cost to do something like that?
That's the thing, right? So
Right.
now for my lawyer to get it done, again, I would have to not care about the $5,000 because now I'm going to spend another $5,000 just to do that.
Right.
So now it's out of principle.
Right.
Now it's out of, I want you to pay this money back. I don't care about the $5,000 anymore because it's going to cost me $5,000 to go after you. So that legally, that's what you can do, but it's going to cost you another $5,000. Joe's right. But personally, you win some, you lose some. It is what it is. You gave somebody $5,000. You feel bad for the guy, but it's what happened. He's not a stand-up guy, obviously. I don't know the situation, but unfortunately, this happened. But kudos to you, Tom, for bringing this out there to the people and just letting Carlos speak and telling this story. And wherever it goes, at least Tom gives the platform for people to talk about this and make people aware of that. Not that people aren't already aware that this stuff happens.
Maybe it'll help people. I'm sure this has happened before, but again, with what I've seen, how Primo was getting massacred in a lot of the chats, I can understand how this could have happened to other subscribers at some point or another, and they chose to not speak on it and bring it up because they didn't want to have that response and those attacks. Because I've seen since all this information came out, I've seen a few different chats, and they weren't nice to Primo. It was, you're stupid, and you should have known better, and we're not buying it. And and people are gonna feel that way. But again, like I always say, been around here long enough to know that nobody's just gonna give you a $5,000 gift. It's just,
and it was somebody who served their country. I don't know. I kind of I wear this with pride. Two guys, and again, I don't know their full backgrounds, but two guys from the Italian American community. Not that knocking that Italians are any better.
He ain't from no Italian American community. That guy, man, that did that. Hell no.
Well, that's
you don't do that to another. You don't do that to one of your own. With all due respect to other nationalities or whatever, we don't do that. Especially when we, people don't realize, Italians fighting Italians. When you live in New York or whatever, that's fine. But when we come into YouTube, which is not really a big Italian community, when we start going at each other, that's a big problem with me.
Well, I'll give you. My parents came over in the late 50s, and their first mortgage they got on their house, the guy at the bank co-signed for them. Like the guy at the bank sitting at the desk.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need a loan? Oh, you need $7,000 for your house? Fantastic. I'll co-sign for you. My father had a small store. He what is it called? Like a He repaired like TVs, appliances, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And he was one of the first few guys to do layaway, right? So what would happen every Saturday, there'd be a long line of people going to pay him, and everybody wanted everybody else to see that they were paying because it's an honor to pay your debts. I'm assuming Hispanic people are like that as well, and so forth. You know, Puerto Ricans, Hispanic, Cuban, anywhere where there's a culture and a community is you want to pay your debts, and that's what's a little troubling to me. You know.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. One other thing, Carlos, because I have a question.
Yeah.
So has this guy Dom? Has he made a statement on this publicly? Like, is he just hiding?
No, he hasn't. I guess Primo's tried to reach out a few more times after this, to see him work something out,
Right.
and there's no response. Nobody's able to get in contact with him. And here's the thing. I'm here speaking on Primo, and Primo wanted this to break here. He wanted Tom to speak on this, and this is what we decided.
Yeah.
But even now, the message is going to get lost because of the conflicts that goes on. Like right now, this will be taken as this was a revenge. This was, we don't mess with such and such anymore, so this is why they did this. And that's furthest from the case. This is basically, I decided to speak up for Primo and speak up for the subscribers, because I know he's a good guy. And this has nothing to do with sides or who likes here, or this is to get back at this guy. That's not what it is. This is Primo's wishes that I speak for him, and I speak on this platform about this incident.
And Joe, just for the record, I got downloaded about like 2-3 weeks ago about it, and as you know, busy with Jocelyn, busy with the baby, a lot of stuff. I haven't even seen you in a minute, so it's been a bit crazy. So I finally got to it. Joe, take the wheel. I gotta get the baby a bottle. Just take the wheel and continue. Hold on.
What do I say now? So how's your show going, Carlos?
It's going pretty good. We got good subscribers, a decent chat going on, and I enjoy it.
Now, I noticed I tried subscribing to the channel, and is it like 3 separate channels? Like, because it's just No Fly Zone. I subscribe to, I think, Carlos No Fly Zone.
That's probably my personal channel. See, what happened was, when you type in just regular No Fly Zone, a lot of people couldn't find it. It wasn't coming up. So the quarterback Nelson changed it to No Fly Zone Ricans, and now it's a lot more accessible. So when you type in No Fly Zone Ricans, it should come up.
Okay, that's cool. And so how many shows have you done?
I'm not sure. I think we did about 7, between 7 and 9, and we have another one coming on tonight at 10.
How has everything been? What's up, King NYC? You getting a good reception, or like what is the
Oh no, the response is, you get the usual decent subscribers, and it's actually opened up. We've gotten subscribers that we usually didn't get along with,
Right.
And we have good conversations. We brought in a few guests. We've had Primo. We've done an interview with Primo. We brought in a few subscribers for Subscriber of the Week, but the whole purpose of it was to have a good conversation in the chat without drama, and where everybody has a free voice.
Yep.
And it's turning out pretty good. We actually like the response that we've been getting.
I think I have your channel, 345 subscribers.
Yes, sir.
There's some really good-looking guy on there. I don't know who's that good-looking guy in there. It doesn't look like Big Lou or you, but I'll subscribe it anyway right now.
That's probably our brother Nelson.
That might be Nelson. So now you got 346. That's cool, man. Well, I wish you guys the best with the channel, and you seem like you really have a great attitude to handle the trolls, whereas myself, it's been a little rough.
It comes with the territory. If you're going to be on YouTube, it comes with the territory's part. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, but there's always someone that pushes the envelope. Like if they talk about you personally, it's like, and you don't say anything, then they'll take it one step further and one step further. So I don't know if I should just get mad at when they talk to me. Maybe they'll leave my family out of it. But it seems like when I don't respond to just stuff about me, it goes to my family. So I got to figure out how to combat that one.
Salute, Primo, my brother.
Yeah.
What's up, Primo?
So I don't know, Primo. I don't want to put you in the spot, and you don't have to answer here. But what can we do? Like, should we do a fundraiser? Like, I don't even know what to do. To be like, I'm so. That's why I kind of want to do a live on this, because put our ideas together and thoughts together, because I'm at a loss for words. I told Jason about it. I want him to come on. He's like, bro, I never heard anything like this before. No offense. I don't want to limit the severity of it. But, like, what are some of the things that we can do, Carlos?
I pretty much don't know if we can do a fundraiser. I like I said, this is all new to me, you know, and it just bothers because, you know, the subscribers pump this mechanism that's YouTube. You know, it's a big thing, and at the end of the day, they get overlooked. They just become normal bodies, and to a subscriber like myself, they're not. They're people. You get along. Some you don't get along with. You know, I've actually found myself having a rapport with people who I couldn't stand before, because, you know, we've gotten to that point where you have to take sides. If you like this guy and these two guys are enemies, you're not supposed to like this guy. I've never done that. You know, there's some that I don't like and nothing will ever change. You know, there are a few that I don't like, you know, but I'm always open to having a conversation. It's like, for instance, Joe knows I went on a show, you know, and I went on the show because there was something about me. It wasn't so much about taking sides or being particular. I just wanted to address some stuff that was going on. And we had a great conversation, and we left it like that. It then got turned over, flipped around the other side, like, oh, yeah, they're going over here because, you know, they turning to this side. And it's never been about sides with me. And it's a shame that it is like that. It is like that with subscribers, so much so that they feel that's exactly what it has to be about. And it's not the case.
Yeah. But one thing I will say is, look, man, if people could get on here and say, look, I need shocks and struts, and they could donate money to that, we could definitely put money together for a good cause. You know what I mean? At least we know, you know, I mean, truthfully.
Absolutely right. I think that's what we're gonna do. Like, even on our channel, there's no Cash App, there's no Venmo, there's nothing, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to do that, because that's what everybody assumes is all. At the end of the day, it's all about, you know, the bag. And with us, it's not that the case. We could care less if we got 1,000 subscribers, as long as we have good subscribers in the chat, and we're having a good show and everybody's enjoying themselves. That's what it's about. But we will, if it comes down to it, I'll put up something for Primo on our channel, and I feel a few other content creators, if they feel they want to help, put up something for you, and be surprised. Everybody puts together, it might just come back. See, and I think that's possible. If all subscribers decided to do this, and all content creators decided to do this, it would help the situation.
Well, I was Anthony, and again, I'll just show the documentation real quick. There's correspondence back and forth, but the crust of it is, and you can go back and watch, that Primo makes it clear that he wants documentation and that it is a loan, and then he requests what type of, you know, terms it's going to be and that kind of stuff. And the character of it is a loan. It just, you know, unless, again, I reach out to Dom, give him the courtesy. He could even give me a statement that I can read, but he didn't do it. So you know what? We have to kind of go with the evidence that we see, and it looks like that it was a loan. I mean, I did, you know, my to give some advice to Primo, I believe he's here. Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, let's say it wasn't a loan. Look at this guy, Dom. I mean, let's say it and Primo gave him the $5,000. As your character, wouldn't you turn back to the guy who gave you $5,000 and said, "Oh my God, you now need help. Oh, Primo, you're out $5. Let me help you. You helped me when I was in the jam. Thank you so much. Listen, I can't give you the whole nut right now. Oh man, I want to help you." So even if Dom said it was a loan, it wasn't a loan. Okay, well now the guy needs help. Why don't you go return the favor and help the guy then? Every which way, and I don't know either of these parties, but every which way points to Dom not doing the right thing. loan or no loan. The guy's not doing the right thing.
Maybe we should do a fundraiser to hire a lawyer and go after this cocksucker and let him pay.
You're
See,
right.
You know what? Someone said letting him off the hook. You know, if we give Primo the money, which believe me, we would love to do it, but wouldn't it be better if that cocksucker actually had to pay through the nose?
It's not a bad idea. That's not a bad
Put
idea.
together the money, get a lawyer, you know, like an actual, and let him take care of it. Maybe if we explain to a lawyer, there has to be a lawyer out there. I'm not going to say they're going to do it for free, but maybe we could get, it might be some good publicity for the lawyer as well as, you know, I mean, I don't know. Good work.
I mean, I'd be happy to, on my magazines and stuff, I could promote it there. I mean, I could definitely get the right exposure towards it. I mean, Carlos, I don't want to put Primo on the spot, and Primo do not.
And you know what? This Dom guy, if he ever wants to, you know, save face again, he should come on multi, you know, media units or on his channel, and he should say, you know what, I interpreted it wrong. I was wrong for doing what I did. And if he saves face, you'll be surprised. People will forgive him. You know, if he does the right thing, he has time to do the right thing. You know,
that's why we're doing this, is create awareness. Like if he emails me back and he's like, "Listen, let me talk to you," I'd be happy. I
was in a jam. I didn't know what to do. I was ashamed of myself. I needed it. I made a big mistake, guys, and I'm going to do my best in effort to pay this guy back. There's something there, but I tell you what, running for the hills is not the answer.
Well, I don't want to give legal advice, but the little that I do know is that, you know, it can go by either he could do it in the state where he did it from, I think California. And by the way, Primo did send me, I don't want to post it, his official documentation, or you could do it in Florida, right? So let's say you do it in Florida. You could do it pro se, which means you represent yourself, and there's some legal aids that will help you do everything remotely. And then, you know what, like it might be worth it to spend a few dollars to make him pay. You know, they put a lien on it, or they find him, you know, small claims court, or whether this is above the threshold for that. You're right. I don't think doing even a fundraiser per se is kind of puts a Band-Aid on it. You know, maybe some money towards, we could fundraise to help you get a good lawyer, or do a pro se, you know, something, because, you know, as a community, that's what bothers me is, like, if somebody doesn't like me and I don't like them, but something really bad happens, like, you got to come together as a community, regardless if
exactly.
You like
and Tom, I'll tell you what, you know what? Unfortunately, Primo, you know, he's out $5,000 now, and maybe, you know, you have a fundraiser, and JSV Capital will be happy to donate. You know what? You say, listen, don't worry about hiring a lawyer, Primo. Take half the loss. We'll raise $2,500 for you. Put $2,500 in your pocket. The community will raise $2,500. You lost $2,500, but you got back half of it. As the community stepped in, JSV Capital will be happy to donate. Bay 8th will donate double of what JSV Capital donates. I know that. So thank you, Bay 8th, for that.
Now, I'll start with the Indian clams that I'm about to eat. You could have that as a donation.
In all seriousness, we'll talk behind the scenes, and maybe we could work something out. The other thing is, but you know what? Like, but then he's off the hook, right? It might be better. It might even be better for him to take that $2,500, and you know, you get a lawyer for about 10 hours of work to file, even if he does pro se, just to do the filing. Some of the this mini discovery and that kind of stuff. And the truth of the matter is, once they file, it becomes public record. And now all of a sudden it gets picked up by the media. All of a sudden you Google your name, you go to get a job, you go to get this, you go to get that. Now all of a sudden that the tuition on that expense seems a little expensive. $5,000 isn't worth it, you know.
And then the other thing it does is it let, you know, obviously as dysfunctional as we are, we're a community.
Correct.
It'll let other schemers know that if they're going to come in this community and try to get money, well, guess what? They're going to have to deal with, you know what I mean? We ain't just going to let it slide, you know, under the table or whatever. You know, we're not just going to let it go and then raise money and, you know, because this guy Dom will be off the hook, basically.
Well,
he should get it in his ass, really.
as Carlos says, let's keep it a buck, right? We're not saying other creators cause this. At the end of the day, Primo made a pretty big mistake, right?
Yeah, he did.
With another creator that was kind of on the periphery, right? This is actually a chance for, because let's be honest, there's been a lot of unscrupulous shit happening, right? This might be a good chance for people to actually get together, like Joe said, as a community, as dysfunctional as it is, to say, you know what, let's man the F up and let's try to help this guy out,
There's a great community. You have some fantastic individuals. You build a rapport, and regardless, with this side stuff, I think it will show, and you'll be surprised. I think people will come out, and after this, they will say, you know what, we can help do this, and be surprised. He'd have that money back in what, a few weeks. There's enough decent people that can all get together and do this, and it'll set a good example going across the board, how a community can get together regardless of all the other nonsense that goes on with it. You have good people. This is why I chose to speak out, because being around all these different platforms, you got to meet some fantastic individuals, and it could work, and I think it will work.
Yeah. So obviously, Carlos, if you don't mind, and again, I don't want that part to be public. You talk with Primo behind the scenes, see what he's comfortable with, and we'll talk behind the scenes and whatever we can come up with. I don't want to emotionally say, hey, we're going to do this. I want to do what he's comfortable with.
Exactly.
And, I think it's something that we should do.
I think
who knows if the guy's name is even Dom? Who knows? I mean, if he was looking to scheme from the beginning, then I'm sure he didn't give his name and,
Hey, Tom, guys, I got to go real quick, but Tom, give Primo my information. He said he's in the same industry as me.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a deal that we can do, and maybe he can get some of that scratch back, something like that.
Yeah.
But we'll send over my information to him. Guys, Tom, thank you so much. Carlos, pleasure to meet you.
Jason, you have a good one.
Joey, babe, good seeing you.
Take care, JSV. Yep, definitely. Keep in touch.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, have a good one.
Ciao. So, since we're on, I got a little bit more time. Baby's going to sleep. My wife's handling that. I want to run something by you guys. I need some advice from the people in the community and the people here. And Carlos, you're a pretty level-headed guy. Okay, so Gene Borello is getting sent this tomorrow at 3 p.m. So I earlier did pretty much the last Gene interview before a sentence, which I'm authorized to release as he gets sentenced. We have no clue what's going to happen. It could be whatever, no time. It could be 6 months. It could be 6 years. He has no clue. I don't know. I don't have any clue. Nobody knows what's going on. I think with federal, it's like a crapshoot, right? My challenge is we had a deal. The deal was I get to ask him anything, right? But it also can't be edited for content. For context, yes. Like my daughter walked through, like it knocked off, like she shut it off midstream. I was allowed to edit for that as per agreement, but I kept it as is. It was a very raw interview. I'm not going to lie. He went scorched earth, in my opinion.
Gene Borello.
He went scorched earth. So here's my question to you guys. Do I maybe do an announcement beforehand and give people, I'm making this up. He didn't. Let's say he gets on Carlos pretty bad. Do I maybe make an announcement for anybody that was mentioned on this, give them a chance to come on afterwards and say their piece? Or should I just launch it tomorrow and not have any type of announcement? What's more appropriate?
I would do that, but you also got to understand, like, I'll speak on it from my point, from what I've seen going on.
Please.
If I know Gene, he's going at the Gotti's hard. He's going to go, and that's
yes.
Yeah, pretty much that. So I would get with them and say, this is what it is. He's having his last interview, and and I expect they expect nothing less, because at the end of the day, he's going to be himself, and he's going to just be all out there. He's going to be at his best despicable inner self.
Well, I guess you make a good point. I guess the few people that are mentioned, if I reach out to them and just be upfront, be like, hey, this is what's going to happen. You're welcome to have somebody come on. Angel's not a big fan of mine. That's not going to help. But if she decides to say, hey, I want Chris Casparosa or somebody else to come on, they're happy to come on. This is not a one-way street. I just got the final editing back, and it was a rough one. I'm not going to lie. I was actually a little uncomfortable with it. So I could always reach out to the people that were mentioned, and maybe that's a better way to do it, Carlos. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you can reach out to them. You know, they might not necessarily respond, but we've been here around this long enough to understand exactly where he's going to go. He's shown there's no level to the inner despicable nature of himself. So I'm sure it'll be a rough one. I know that we know that so far.
Well, I know that he's getting sentenced, and the truth of the matter is, especially I think with federal, I think there's like guidelines and you can do deals and that kind of stuff. But one thing I can say about the interview, it was an informant, and like just like anything else, it matters who the people are that are involved. And evidently, the federal AUSA and that kind of crew turned over, and that he worked with, and now it's a whole new crew, and they ain't messing around. Like they're not like there's no, hey, I was an informer. Hey, help me out. I think he can get jammed up on this, Carlos. I'm pretty confident of it, actually.
That he could get jammed up off the interview.
So it's my understanding is part of it is the threatening of, I guess he wanted a photo of the girlfriend and might have allegedly threatened him. And then on the show, he had people on that were former criminals, which I believe is also in violation. So, parole violations are, pretty serious stuff. So I have no clue how it's going to land. And I think the longer the time is, that's kind of why I think he went scorched earth, because I really think he may think either not care, or he may think that the punishment's real,
Yeah, he most likely doesn't care. I mean, I'll say this now. Being one, I don't wish jail on anybody. But when it comes to that certain individual, I could care less anything that happens to him. He shows exactly who he is. He's probably one of the most despicable government cooperating witnesses to be out.
Well, what I found interesting about him was I'm just giving it. Listen, I'm pretty upfront. I love the mob stuff. I interview people all the time. From after A-Light, the early 2000s, there wasn't really that many people out, like in terms of talking, right? Mm-hmm. And when Borello came around, he kind of brought you up to the mob from the early 2000s up to 15. And prior to, let's say, Finesse, there wasn't really anything at all. Like Jimmy Clander, respectfully, was pre-2000. A-Light at most brings it in 2005. So there was really nothing prior to Finesse. So I had Gene on 2 years ago, and we had a long conversation. And I thought the interview was pretty good, and it gave a lot of information. Of course, over time passes, you learn more and more about the guy. But I really thought, in earnest, when I was interviewing him, I thought I was going to give him a zinger asking about the $10 million lawsuit. And candidly, Carlos, I thought he wasn't going to be able to talk about it. He did. That's what shocked me. That's why I'm blown away. I'm sat there like an idiot. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? I thought if I can't talk about it, I want a lawyer's advice, that kind of stuff. Because that was a deal. I get to ask you whatever you want, but Tom, you can't edit it. So I got a little curveball thrown at me when it was you can't talk about it, right? And he goes, no, I can, and he did, and that's when he went a little scorched earth. So I might take your opinion that I'll reach out to some of the camps and and see and let them know.
Yeah, this feels a little different. This one, because
Yeah, Joe, what do you think?
I mean, the only thing that I really look. You do your interview thing or whatever. You had Sammy the Bull, and you have a good record. Just what feels different about this one is that he has a platform to bash other content creators, and I don't know if he's I don't know. It just feels like a little. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe other content. Maybe other informants have got on and talked about other people. But I don't think it's going to come off good. really.
Tom, you know my stance on how I feel about government cooperating witnesses. I can't stand any of them. To me, they're all despicable. But he's a special type of despicable. When you go at family and you go at children and you do the stuff that he's done to Angel Gotti and her family, that's next level. And he wasn't the only one. John Elite was the same way. They targeted women, targeted kids. That's on a different level. So at the end of the day, I'll be the first one to say it. I could care less if they give him 100 years or he gets burned in his soul, whatever the case may be, because even the other rats, being rats, they didn't stoop to those kind of levels as far as him. The stuff that he did was next level, and he had no remorse about it. It was actually funny to him. So this is why I'm not surprised that he told you, no, I can talk about this, I can talk about that, because he ain't rap too tight.
Yeah, but let me ask you guys though, because this is where I struggle with, right? So like I can bury it, right, tomorrow, and I can not do it, right? But part of the thing is this is newsworthy. It's gonna be the New York Post, it's gonna be the Daily News, it's gonna be New York Times, it's gonna be wherever. Like I will give the opportunity for anybody to come on afterwards and contest and talk about it. And number two, it's like, listen, whether people like me or not, I do my best to report the best I can. I'll give you an example. When people get me on A-Light, got interviewed by Trevor McDonald. Trevor McDonald interviewed Nelson Mandela. Like,
yeah,
so,
but he's just attacking content creators. Like John Panisi actually told the story. I mean, if Gene came on and was telling his story or telling a situation, but now he just has a platform to rip these people. And I don't know if
but here's my point though. When I went into this, right? I went in in earnest. I said to myself, I said, there's no way he's gonna be able to talk about, because I know Dega Anton, I know his lawyer. So I thought that was gonna be off limits, right? You know, I thought a lot of this stuff would be off limits for the simple fact that like this can aggravate. Once if tomorrow the judge has COVID, right? And I release it and somebody sees it, he can get jammed up. Like, but my point being is if he doesn't do it here, he's going to do it somewhere, right? And number two, it is newsworthy. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like whether we like it or not, like the guy, I think it was Jeff Nadeau said, whether we don't need to like him, the guy's an interesting character. Now, interesting doesn't mean positive, right?
I understand when you say newsworthy, but is it newsworthy him? Maybe I'm taking it wrong. I'm thinking he's just attacking like certain content creators, multiple content creators.
He gets a little rough on some people,
but how is that news?
Well, but that was part of the deal, Joe. It
right. Okay.
Yeah. And then it was part of the deal. Like again, I listen. It was up to me. I could have did it and I could edit it all out.
Right.
Whatever. But part of the deal was I get that last interview, which you may go away and not be able to do any interviews for a while. But in exchange, so it was part of the deal. And me, candidly, I have some media experience. I really thought it wasn't all bets are off. I thought it was the opposite. I thought it was I can't talk about this. I can't talk about that. I can't talk. And also, like they always say, when you do a speech, do it last. I'm like, if he goes after other content creators, like why don't you like they're going to talk about you while you're in jail? You're not going to be able to talk back. So he kind of went against like game theory and strategy, if in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe he didn't care. Like Carlos says, maybe he just doesn't give a shit. You know?
He doesn't. And as far as like you, this is a business. This is armchair. You've platformed them, and you're a civilian. You made no bones about that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there are going to be countless people, other than people he's going to go at, that want to hear that interview. That they will lick their chops or savor. They even, because there's a few content creators. I know a particular one who would cut off his hand if he could release this video. If he had that interview, it is what it is, because there's a base for it. If there wasn't, Sammy Gravano and most of these government informants, they wouldn't have as many subscribers as they do.
You're right. And if
they wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
It's food for them. You know, people interested in that. You know, you can see it. Look at how big these platforms are as far as the government cooperated in itself. You know, it just sucks that, you know, the family members. For instance, I know I go off rip. I know he's going to go at the Gaudis, and it's just a shame that they have to relive this over and over again, because these government cooperating witnesses decide that they want to be the trash that they really are, and they want to capitalize off it. Whether write a book from inside or whatever the case may be. It just it's sad, but there are people that want that. If you was to do a poll, you're gonna have a lot that say, "Yeah, we want to hear that interview."
Well, I'll give you an example, Carlos. So I did Sammy's interview. Now I'm friends with Karen, right? And maybe for me it was less uncomfortable because my niece married. I'm sorry, my first cousin married their niece. I didn't go to their wedding. I was young. But long story short, like our families were related. I knew Karen. I know Karen well. I don't know Gerard well, but I know Karen well. So it wasn't as foreign to me, right? But Sammy's interview got almost 200,000 views. Somebody wants to watch it, right? Now, I interviewed Borello in, I think, 18 on Mother's Day, right? 18 or 19, maybe 19 on Mother's Day. It's my number 3 video. Out of the 100 videos I did with John Panisi, he's my number 3 or 4 video out of all of these. So people like Gene. They want to see Gene. And it's like, at least I'm hopefully a good steward of asking the right questions, being respectful as I can about it, because you can get some guy who's going to really kind of exploit it. So, and I'll give the chance for other people to dispute it as well,
I want to say, sleep in peace to Alan Kaiser.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's tricky, man. I mean, you want to, so I get, again, listen, you got to see the stuff I get behind the scenes, right? So listen, we're for the show, I like the business end of things, right? And you got to think I'm nuts, Carlos. You're welcome to say I'm nuts, right? But I look at the Cosa Nostra as like, and the mob stuff from the business angle. I look at it from a different lens, right?
Mhm.
And growing up, I seen the good, right? The guy with the house in Watchung that's almost like a castle, right? He's a captain of the Cavalcantes. The guys that were wise guys that would, like, if growing up, if you needed a union job in the 80s, you got it from Riggy, in New Jersey. You know what I mean? Like I saw the good of it. I'm not saying it was good, but you saw like where it fit in the Italian community, right?
Yeah.
It all went to shit in the 90s and 2000s. For me, I think by Gene doing what he did during his run, the home invasions and more of the dirtbag stuff, let's be real,
Oh yeah.
was not just him. It was indicative of the fall of the mob. What I'm saying was they didn't adapt. The technology, when the commission got ripped apart, new leadership came in, and it all fell apart. So just like any organization that doesn't adapt, it becomes like they still need to make money. So they make money in different ways, more nefarious ways. So I look at him as part of that arc on the way down and the end of the mob. You get what I'm saying? So for
Yeah.
me, this is almost like I look at it differently than other people. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to people. I don't mean to be insulting. I don't mean to, be insensitive. But the way I look at it is a little different than other people. And to me, Gene was indicative of the fall of the mob. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's changed. The whole principle of the home invasions, where they did, when that was never part of that.
Correct.
There was
Correct.
a lot
Never
of
heard that. Never heard that in my life.
no, it has changed. It definitely has changed. I
Correct.
also want to say a salute to all the men who kept their honor, stood on their 10 toes, and took their weight like men. Far too much goes into these government cooperating witnesses, because it's the fashionable thing to do these days, to be a rat, and you see it going across the board. And the people tend to forget about those who took theirs. But my thing has always been real simple: carry
Yeah.
your own weight. You're gonna be out in the street, take your stuff. Take yours like a man, take your medicine, and don't ruin others' lives. But we're in the era where it's fashionable to be a rat. This is why that if you release that show, you're gonna get a lot of views. Why? Because there are people that eat it up. There are people that make these government cooperating with their best friends. They have them on speed dial. They salute them.
Well, I do try my best to give balance, right? And I remember watching, or not watching, but listening to one of JTP's podcasts. And the one thing that really stood out to me that Dominic was saying was, and it made sense, and I think you'll appreciate this. He goes, And I think he was talking about a banana associate. I want to say which one, but he's like, you were there when things were good, right? Like somebody beefed with you, you went to your soldier. When you shook down a drug dealer, it was in the name of the bananas. When you did this, and this, and got enriched, right? Made money when you could make money in the mob. Cars, women, drugs, all these things, and you were able to kind of use this organization when things were good, right? So now things go bad, and all of a sudden it's it's bad. And for that, I see what Dominic's saying. He's like, well, if you're going to use the good and you benefit from this, when it goes bad, you can't just skip out. And then more importantly, Dominic talks about a lot of these guys do lie or they get caught in fallacies. And in the media, it's like, for example, stuff gets out in the media first, and then people just run with that, So, I don't want to make it look like I don't have an appreciation for that. I do. That's where I get conflicted, Carlos. And I try to do my best in that sense.
I want to respect to Dominic Crea. I think he's a very honorable gentleman, and I think his movement is needed to bring awareness to stuff. Like I said, I agree with the members. I don't always agree with almost a majority of supporters because I think it's camouflage for the movement in itself. But I salute the movement and what he's doing, and I think he's a gentleman, and my best wishes to him. He's fighting to help his father to bring awareness to just how corrupt the government is, protecting these guys, giving them the beautiful deals that they do, and overlooking all the other stuff that they do behind it. So it's needed.
Yeah, shout out to Dom Crea and We Push Back.
Yeah.
Big supporter of his.
PGM Justice, I know I work in a criminal law firm. 98% of everyone that walks in the door cooperates. Wow. That's, I don't know. But let me ask you this, though. This is where I get challenged a little bit, right? So, obviously a lot of people don't like informants, right? But like a lot of us are law and order. And in law and order, the number one tool is often informants. You know what I mean? So where do you guys land on that? Because I thought this through. I'm not like a heartless jerk who's like, So like where, what do you guys land on that?
They need them.
Giuliani said it best. He said, without informants, we wouldn't be able to make these cases.
Yeah.
Especially mob cases.
Yeah.
But this is why they're able to give them the deals that they do. If the trophy's that big, look at prime example, look at Gravano. Nobody's gotten a deal like that. That's probably the best deal you're ever going to get in the entire world. You bring in 41 plus guys, they give you 5 years and let you keep your money. And now you're back on YouTube making videos talking about how Cosa Nostra you are, when you're going to go down as probably the biggest government cooperating rat in the history of the mob.
Yeah.
And he's making videos and he's praising and everything is Cosa Nostra, and it's despicable to me. But people want to hear those stories. They want to support them. It's not me. I salute the man like John J. Gotti, who died a slow death, but at no time did he lose his honor, stop being the man that he was.
Yeah.
He took his weight.
He killed the kid, though, Gravano. He shouldn't have been able to walk away from that. And then when he got, even if he walks away from that, the drug dealing thing, a normal person would have got life for that.
This is why they ripped up Castro's agreement, because he was going to expose him for being a lying drug dealer. And at the end of the day, I salute to Joy Faraci and the Faraci family, and rest in peace, Alan Kaiser, because he did kill a child, and the government helped cover it up. Because
that's a point. That's a government that we pay our taxes to. That's a government. Like, what was it? Comey and Mueller are the ones who gave them the deal. You know what I mean? Like, and they got promoted. Like, it wasn't like they did it and it got shamed in the halls of Washington. The fuckers got promoted.
Because if the trophy is somebody as polarizing as a John J. Gotti, they'd have gave 10 deals out to 10 different Sammys if it meant they get him.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Look what they do. Look how they pay for them. Look, they let Sammy keep all his money. They got A-Light. They spent $50,000 fixing his teeth. They can fix mine, and I would never become a rat. I don't care if you buy me a set tomorrow. It's not in. It's not.
I don't get, and you guys maybe could shed some light. Is I do interviews with these guys all the time, and these guys talk about the dirt that they did. Is it because it's in a 302? How are these guys able to talk about these things?
Because they don't have no conscience. You see, I was told by a respectable person to help, pretty much change my life when I got to the streets. And his philosophy was real simple. They're not turned. They were born that way. It just took a little bit to bring it out. This is why it's so easy for them. It was always in there. It just took something to bring it out. And the government, it's like a big, juicy, beautiful blonde,
Because you got to look at it from this perspective, right? So Sam, I'll use this as an example. So Robert DiBernardo, right?
Yeah.
So Sammy killed him, right? Whatever, fine, right? So he comes back out of jail, and I'm sure this guy DB has daughters. I'm sure he has grandchildren. How do you think the families of his victims feel when he's talking about this and he's giggling about it and he's almost blaming them? The family has to relive that. Where is his compassion as a human being to say, you know what, I'm not going to, because would you like to hear about how someone blew your grandfather's brains out, and they were picking his brains off his shirt or whatever, threw him in the trunk of his car, and he became scrap metal. So, where's the compassion for the family members for someone to say, you know what, I'd rather not talk about that because you know what, I did my dirt or whatever. It's already out there, but he just keeps repeating it, and it seems like these families will have to keep reliving it.
Yeah, he has no compassion. He has no compassion. See that the thing with him is that he preaches this code, this honor thing, and it's bogus. It's about the bag, because if you were really a man of honor, what happened when they gave you your second chance? What'd you do? You went to Arizona and became a drug dealer involving your family. So that goes to show you that it's nothing. It's about his ego. It's about his bag. It's all about him. Because if you ask him now, he still swears he's the underboss. You can see it.
Well, the only reason why he got 20 years, because don't get me wrong, that was appropriate sentence, but why he got 80X and all that stuff was because he embarrassed the feds.
Oh yeah, they gave him the deal of a century, and he spit on him. He could not stop being who he was. Yeah. Same way it was always how he killed all his partners. It was he justifies it. It was because of this. It was because of that. No, it's because he was the greedy dirtbag. It is what it is.
You know what I always say, that I have no say, but what I've always said is there should be a law, right, that if you're in on a case, right, and you break rank and you inform, I think that the informant has to serve 25% of the top of the case. Meaning, if you put somebody away for 100 years, then you got to serve 25 of it, right? Because you committed a crime too, you were involved with it, you just serve 25, and then you would see less informants. But the government would never do that because they want informants.
They need those convictions. They need to keep that conviction rate in the high 90s, which it is.
Because they had to get promoted to their governorship, their senatorship, their judgeship, and then the cycle continues. And don't get me started about that, because those fuckers that, when I say 500 schools, not 500 colleges, 500 schools, all these guys went to: elementary, middle, high school, and college. What it comes down to, 125 schools that feed into this system, the same motherfuckers that put Italians away. That's why I get so sick about Italians hurting other Italians, because the justice system has not been kind to Italians. The other thing is about that is like this First Step program, which was fantastic, and I'm glad that there's a lot of African American and a lot of minorities who are able to spend holidays with their families. But when an Italian goes up in front of a judge for a compassionate release, they get ugats. They get fucking sent back to jail. So I still think there's some injustices out there. Sorry, I don't mean to get up on the soapbox about it, but I do agree with that.
Yeah, it's a dirty game.
It's just, but it's what it is what is happening now. Like it's fashionable, it's fashionable and sets a bad precedence. For instance, you got the rapper 6ix9ine.
Yeah.
I've watched people try to justify why he did what he did. Oh, they slept with his girl. They planned on kidnapping his mother. They planned on doing this. No, you thought you was in the street. You did all this other stuff, and at the end of the day, it always boiled down to one simple thing: they cannot take their weight. They can't do the time. And what happens is now you have these kids in the street who decide that maybe I want to dabble in the street, but you know what? I can get arrested and talk on a few people, and I can come back out, and I'll still be lauded and applauded, and I'll still be a hero, and I'll still have my money. We've seen it with so many of these cooperators that came home. Karma sometimes takes a little bit longer than others. We've seen it with Alpo. We've seen it with a few of these high popular rats.
Yep.
Yeah, but then you look how do you deter it, right? Like in Italy, there's no rules there. Colombia, there's no rules. Mexico, they wipe out entire families. So it's like fuck. It's like, you don't want that either, because then innocent people get.
It's like you know what? You get more time if you was to hurt a government cooperating witness than you could if you hurt an agent. That's a shame.
Oh, really?
That's a shame. Oh yeah, that's a shame. This is why they feel so obligated and feel so at ease to be out in the street and everything, because they carry those life alert bracelets where they hit it and all of a sudden they already messages sent out to their handler. This is why they feel comfortable to come on YouTube and do and say all the nonsense that they do.
Look what they're doing in New York now. This Eric Adams, right? God bless the guy, right? They want to get back to arresting people for public urination and smoking cigarettes on the sidewalk and all this stuff. They never really want to get to the root of the real problem. Why are these kids getting involved in this? Because honestly, I met someone from the Barry homes on Staten Island, and I became friends with him through the SYEP program, Summer Youth Employment Program. And I gave the kid a job, and he's still a friend of mine. And he told me about how life was for him growing up. And, when you have a mom that doesn't provide meals for you, and you got to get your own clothing, I couldn't imagine not having a home to come home to that has food in it. Or before the school year, your mom takes you shopping to get school clothes. Could you imagine not having that? Could you imagine not having any authoritative figure in your life? Well, who becomes your father? The streets, because there's someone out there that's going to say, hey, come with me. I'll show you a way to get these things. And what happens is it's like everything else. It's like a YouTube channel. You start on a YouTube channel, you start talking shit about people, and you're getting ratings by bashing people. Yeah. Well, look what happens when I try to do sports. My numbers go down. So now people, do they really want to, so they say, hey, I got to keep this shit up to maintain this lifestyle. And once you get into the prison system, once you're, how do you get out of it? How do you get a job? Nobody's going to give you a job. So it's a whole cycle. And they got to figure out ways how to attack it from that level, as opposed to wanting to help people after they get out of jail and when they come home. I mean, it's just, we got to get these kids a little younger, because something out there is really tempting them to do the wrong thing.
There are not enough programs inside for them the first time to get them prepared to not come back. Because at the end of the day, it's a business. It's a business. It's one of the biggest businesses. And they want you to come back. This is why they do what they do.
Right.
But that's why, like Joe, you were saying, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And I remember, I wasn't sure, one of the guys that I spoke to that was in the life, they took away the college programs for a lot of the state in New York. So New York State had you go to college, you get degrees. So when you get out, you have a full-fledged degree. It's just as good as a degree as a 4-year college. And they took a lot of those programs away. And ironically, and I don't want to get political, but the right historically was really tough on crime and took a lot of those programs away. And I'm not sticking up for Trump. People throw tomatoes at me, but Trump did put the First Step Act into play. And the First Step Act was a really good first step to fixing our justice system problem. And I stand by it. I mean, you can say what you want, but Tim Scott and him put together a really nice program. And a lot of guys got to spend Christmas with their families. Maybe not a lot of Italian American guys, but men nevertheless, you know?
I just don't understand with Trump how he did more for blacks and Latinos in his 4 years, but yet they're still, they still really don't vote for the guy. They hate the guy.
There's
I don't understand. It could be, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's other reasons, but the way I see it is, it seems like he donated $1 billion to the black colleges. Didn't he do that?
It's the media, and that's why, like I said, not to whatever, but that's why you have to watch both sides. You know, you got to watch. If you can sit through MSNBC, if you can sit through MSDNC, if you could, watch CNN, you could watch Fox, you watch Newsmax, Breitbart. You got to watch all of it because, like, I remember when I was a kid. I was watching American news, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, whatever it was. And Italian news came on, and my mother was watching it. And they reported news totally different than American news, like the same story. And I'm like, Mom, what's going on? He goes, oh, in Italy, like, there's less bullshit. Like, here, everything's money. And they would tell the story how it is. I mean, they got things there too, but it's just the media, man. It's fucked up.
I don't watch mainstream media. I'll grab 4 or 5 articles on a particular subject, read all 4, and draw my own logical conclusion. You're not gonna feed me that script that you're playing. I'm gonna, because they all do it, all of them across the board. So that's where that. See, because it's easy. People are lazy. People don't want to do the research anymore. It's easy to sit in a chair in front of a screen and get force fed that stuff instead of taking your time and do your own individual research and enlighten yourself and draw your own logical conclusion. But yeah. It's easy to sit there and they get it from Facebook and mostly all the online media. You'd be surprised how much people get all their news from social media.
Younger kids, I would think all of them get it.
I want to show you guys something. So
what's up, Gator?
Gator's a good dude. We're doing another movie review with Gator soon. Stay tuned. So I'm happy that he's here. So I just want to show you guys something. And so, again, I care about 2 things: free speech, free market. So this is Ian Smith. He was a gym owner in New Jersey. And, he was saying, listen, he's like, you know what? I have a gym. And he took on the government, and they were fining him $15,000 a day. And literally the fines racked up to $300,000. He finally got his gym membership back, his gym license back. He paid the fines. He's now operating effectively because he kept his gym open. And now he's running for Congress. So I had him on the show before. That was the show that we did. I shared it on my community. And I found out yesterday that he squared it away with the government. That's the other part too. The government's overreaching a lot these days, telling businesses and people what they should do and what they should not do. Oh, I like that hashtag. I like that hashtag. That's why we stand for Primo.
That's awesome. Joe, Tom, we were supposed to go on the No Fly Zone at 10.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. I'm not even supposed to be doing lives. I made an exception for Carlos because he's my man. He did pay the. Oh no, real quick about the 300K. So he got national stage. I saw him on Fox, and that's how I became friends with him. I reached out, did a podcast, we maintained a friendship, and he raised money from a GoFundMe for his legal defense fund, and this part's fucked up. He had, I'm making this up. He had 150,000 or whatever in their operating account. The government went in and seized the money and held onto it for him. Carlos, without notification, were legally allowed to go in and take that money because they were saying he could spend it. It couldn't be used for legal defense or whatever it was. And the government came and took it without even fucking telling him.
They're real gangsters. They're the real gangsters.
Yep.
They're the real gangsters.
And he fought it. And And yeah, and he's running. I don't know if he's going to win. It's a where he is in New Jersey. It's a really blue leaning district, but he's running, and I'm looking to get him back on. Coincidentally, my wife and I we went to we wanted to go away for what was it Valentine's Day last year, and I saw him, and he was at the resort, the place, for a weekend place, and he wouldn't put on his mask, and they told him to leave. I'm like, Ian, it's Tom from New Theory. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. We're chatting. And I'm like, listen, we had our mask, we social distance. Listen, I'm like, why don't you throw in your mask and then take it off upstairs or take it off in the pool? He would not. So he's a hard liner. Shout out to Ian. I'm just happy that he was able to get back, his money from. And again, listen, I see both sides of the argument. I just get tricky when they get involved with business and tell business what to do. So shout out to Ian,
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me on and letting me speak for Primo. Joe, New York Connect, good luck on your show.
If you want to come through, we could, you could come on whenever you want. You just hit me up, man. Maybe we could try to help Primo out. Everyone gets together. Maybe everybody should be pumping this.
I think everybody should do that. We're going to work. I'm going to get with Primo and see more or less what he wants to do. And I guess we can all get in contact with each other and start something. I think the community can get together, put away all the biases, and actually work together and show that people can actually come together and do something. It doesn't have to be particularly sides and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, speak up for the subscriber, because at the end of the day, the subscriber gets overlooked.
That's why we're here.
Right.
That's why we're here. Without these people to the right of us, we have nothing. So, guys, signing it off. Joe, as always, thank you. Carlos, thank you. Enjoy your show. Check out No Fly Zone. Google it, No Fly Zone, Carlos, Nelson, and Lou. And check out Bay 8th, New York Connect. Let's get them 2,000 subs. For now, ciao, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
Thanks, everyone.